Hey, good morning, it's Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Quick housekeeping tip. If you haven't already joined or subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. That way you'll get all my blogs every week and not miss one. I'm going to call this blog the cold hard truth on Vancouver real estate now that we're into summer 2017. So I'm going to cover a variety of topics with this blog, a bit of a rant. I might get a little unwielding, but please bear with me on this. So there was a new poll that just came out that polled something like 10,000 Canadians, asking them about home ownership and financial security. And as expected, close to 90% of Canadians viewed home ownership as their number one priority or number one financial goal. And that doesn't surprise me. That stat has always been high. 9 out of 10 Canadians view home ownership as priority number one, and it should be. Buy your principal residence, take advantage of that principal residence exemption. That has created more millionaires in this country than all other sources combined, and I've blogged about it many times before. Now, also what I blogged about before too is there is nothing wrong with renting in the short term, but the caveat there is in the short term. It can make sense a lot of times for people who move to a new city, aren't really sure where they want to live, what neighborhood, how long they're going to stay in that city. In that case, I would rent. As a matter of fact, I just had a client that had rented a one-bedroom apartment in 3 different neighborhoods the past 3 years. He wanted to rent, get a feel for these neighborhoods before he committed to buying. And I just recently sold him a condo in the West End. So no problem renting as long as it's for the short term, but your end goal here, your priority for the long term should be to buy your principal residence. Next topic, again, in the news a lot now, people taking on too much debt. This has been on for a long time. I've blogged about it many times before. When it comes to home ownership, make sure you leave yourself a bit of a buffer. Do not overcommit and overbuy. You know, if you get qualified for a $500,000 mortgage, doesn't mean you have to take that full $500,000. Although in this market in Vancouver, with multiple offers and bidding wars, often buyers are having to go to the top end of their range here. But you should also have a buffer here for mortgage increases, because they are going to come. There is nowhere to go from here but up. I think we're probably going to be in a low interest rate environment for some time to come. We might get a couple of quarter-point increases here over the next year or two, but be prepared for them. If mortgage rates go up 1% on a $600,000 or $700,000 mortgage, that could be another $300 a month to your mortgage payment. You have to have that buffer there to be able to absorb that mortgage increase. But this is stuff that I've been preaching for a long time. I know that there are people out there that aren't listening, and there's probably some people that are overextended. But you know, in my daily business, what I see, of course, from the clients I'm working with on the buying side, but also what I'm seeing as a listing realtor, I'm privy to the financing that these buyers are coming in with the offers on my properties. And I can tell you that the vast majority of buyers now that I'm seeing, especially with condos or homes priced over $1 million, they're doing conventional mortgages, which doesn't surprise me. They're putting at least 20% down. If you are going high ratio, which still a lot of people are, make sure you leave a buffer there. Now, buying in the Vancouver market, again, I've blogged about this many times before. It's going to take some discipline. It's not easy. You're going to have to make some sacrifices. You might have to work a couple of jobs. You might have to find some creative ways to get the financing in place and save for that down payment. I dedicate a couple of chapters in my book on some ways to try and help get you in the market, getting a co-ownership agreement, going in with a partner. I see it every day in my business, though, young people, first-time buyers that are getting into this market without help from the bank of mom and dad. So it can be done, but it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to make some sacrifices to get into this market. Now, because eventually, as I've said many times on this blog, and any market, whether it's real estate or the stock market, markets go up, they go on a tear for a while, they come down, they correct, they stay level, and then they take off again. Markets go up and down. We are overdue for a market correction, a run-of-the-mill market correction, or maybe something a little bit more severe in Vancouver. We just don't know when it's going to happen. Next year, 2 years, 8 years from now, who knows? But the bottom line is, when you buy a home in Vancouver, or any place for that matter, you buy with a long-term horizon, a long-term window. 8 to 10 years is what I've always advocated, because I don't have any idea what the price of that Yaletown condo is going to be worth 6 months or a year or 2 years from now. But what I can tell you is 15 years from now, that $600,000 Yaletown condo will be far more than what you paid for it today. You will have wished you bought 2 of them 15 or 20 years from now. Some of the other things I want to talk about here too that are in the news and that I see every day. I can't stress more for my younger viewers especially, or all my viewers, to really start to filter and be careful about who you're listening to. There is so much just bad advice out there, made up advice, lies, by people who have an agenda. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of people that, I don't know all their circumstances, but I know there are a lot of people out there that are frustrated with the Vancouver real estate market, and I don't blame them. We're in a beast of a market here, but we're not like a lot of other world cities as well that are popular like Vancouver. But their agenda is to see this market correct, and they're putting things out there that just simply are not true. So hopefully, I think my viewers, my loyal followers here know that I don't have an agenda. I don't have biases. I'm a realtor, but I make a living in balanced markets, buyers markets, sellers markets. I've been in Vancouver real estate for 30 years. I've been through highs and lows, market corrections, and all I've advocated here is the power of buying and holding real estate. And who knows what the market is going to do in the short term. The best time to buy your principal residence was yesterday. The second best time is today. But make sure you buy it with a long-term horizon, and you leave yourself a little bit of a buffer there to cover any mortgage increases or anything that might come up down the road, job loss or whatever. And if you can't, you've got at least a plan B in place where you can maybe rent the unit out to ride out any short-term market correction, let the market recover, which it always does, might take a year or 2 or 3, and then sell the unit when the market recovers. It's really a foolproof, risk-free way of buying real estate and profiting from it. Few other things here. I think avoid pre-sales until further notice. I've blogged about this several times. I just did a radio interview last week talking about pre-sales, the state of pre-sales. Right now, I just don't see a lot of value in buying a pre-sale. Well, first of all, there's very little available anyways in the market right now, at least in downtown Vancouver and the surrounding areas. But I just think the price per square foot right now doesn't make a lot of sense. The pre-sale window kind of opens and closes constantly. And the last opening was about 18 to 20 months ago. And I did a video blog on it. Back in October of 2015, I had blogged about how I had bought another or added another investment property to my portfolio. I also had sold a couple more to investor clients. And just to show how crazy this market is, I mean, in October 2015, I bought a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, brand new for $368,000. And those units are now selling in the $550,000, $570,000 area. So cap rates now have been reduced. I just think right now there is much, much better value in the tangible resale market as opposed to going pre-sale. So until further notice, I think that's where I would be focusing. The last couple of things here, I've talked about this a few times before. Of course, we need more supply. Again, I've talking about this in a couple interviews I did last week. I still think that the city of Vancouver and the province need to start green-lighting more development. We just don't have enough supply. Let's face it, we've been trying for the last 10 years to curb demand with taxes and restrictions and mortgage changes, and it hasn't done anything. Maybe it's time to go the other way and start increasing supply. It's very, very difficult to try and curb demand in any market. And we've tried it. I don't think it works. I'm not advocating we just go crazy development everywhere with no rules and regulations. but we, in most cities in North America, if we had a market like we've got in Vancouver, you would see far more development. And you know, the White Knight or the cavalry is not on the way here. There is very little new condo development coming up in downtown Vancouver, and that what is coming online is $1,500 a square foot and up. Final thing I'll say, just going to what I talked about earlier about tuning people out and the negative people, and start focusing on positive people that you want to align yourself with. And you know, I pay very little attention to the regular media. I kind of filter in certain news feeds. I allow about 10 or 15 minutes a day for the news. The rest of it I tune out. And I would advise people, again, to start aligning yourself with people who have transparency, who have success. That's what I did. I was very fortunate when I started out. I had a father who was in real estate and still is involved. So he was my main mentor, but I also seeked out successful people that I wanted to emulate and wanted to learn from. And it's amazing, you know, how many of these people that I reached out to at a young age were willing to help me and give me some advice. I suggest people do the same thing. Align yourself with people who are successful, have been there and done it. And I have to shake my head that these people I see on YouTube and some of these media commenters in their 20s and 30s talking about Vancouver real estate, and I don't know how they really have any experience or background in Vancouver real estate. You need to have walked the walk here for a while, I think, before you even understand how it works and the long-term benefits of holding real estate. There's a lot of bad advice being tuned out or doled out there. And I would say focus on your circle of not your circle of concern. Focus on your circle of control. Focus on the things you can control as opposed to the external factors. A prime example would be, I saw some people commenting that, you know, the government, now that we've got I think an NDP government or an alliance with the Greens coming into the province, that they're somehow going to help us buy a home or get people get homes more affordable. Listen, folks, the government is not going to help you in any way. You have to focus on the things you can control. Your savings rate, getting pre-qualified for a mortgage, finding ways to get in the market that you control. Don't be relying on external sources or some cavalry to come in and save the day. They're not. Success is an inside job. It has been forever. So focus on the things you can control. I know this Vancouver market is tough, but it can be done. Instead of buying that $800,000 Yaletown condo, I've got incredible units I see in Richmond, 2-bedroom, 2-bath in the 350s. I've been doing a fair bit of work out in New Westminster where you can buy a good 1-bedroom concrete that's been renovated for something around $300,000. 2-bedroom, 2-bath with 2 parking spaces renovated around $450,000. Get your foot in the door with one of those and then move up the ladder from there. You know, start with a Motel 6 and then move up to a 4 Seasons. Anyways, that's my rant for today. I know I covered a lot of topics there, but just wanted to kind of set the record straight, just a potpourri here of what's going on in the Vancouver market. As always, I'm Owen Bigland. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.